to answer it again.
Yes, ma'am. So, as I said, an example of history distributed, and it's quite possible.
Even when the patient is in a lot of pain, and the patient really need relief from the pain in the, all the very sick cancer patients. So that's what is your answer.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yeah.
because there's an array of drugs there for chronic pain, tramadol, then opioids, and other NSAIDs as well. When we have these FDA-approved drugs which have been used in clinical trials, they do not have such adverse effect. They're not known for their abuse potential. Then why should we for abuse?
Hmm. All right. ठीक है. Fair debate. All right. I think I'll pass it to Avi for his question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the last point. I think ma'am has definitely taken up one important point that even didn't cross my mind. So thank you so much for that, ma'am. One point I think, Asmita, that you just took, I happen to have some factual knowledge in that. So you said that like we already have opiates and a few other drugs approved by FDA for pain relief, right? For intense, especially cancer-related pains, right? But I would want to just tell you over here, we have them as FDA approved, and opiates and opioids have a much greater abuse potential than marijuana or LSD, in the sense that marijuana is one of the few drugs which has very low withdrawal or cravings, and LSD is one of the only drugs which has zero physical or physiological dependence. People use it, that is a different issue, but physically it has no dependence. So that's just a food for thought, I would say. So your question, first factual question to you is, what do you understand by synesthesia? If you might want to answer that. And the second part is, since ma'am took the very relevant part, I will want to give you a chance over, if you've thought the legalization just for public domain, why do you think that some states or countries like Canada have even publicly legalized this? We know that there are adverse effects to it. What might be the thought process that those states have legalized it? Like, do you have an insight on that? So those are the two questions.
So synesthesia would be a stimulation wherein I'm not very sure, but something that you perceive wherein where some stimulation is there, but that leads to some involuntary, some perception in another sensory pathway. And as far as your second question, wherein the countries have legalized, they may have gone for the argument which supports their legalization, because the drug war has been a massive failure, and we all know that there have been so much incarceration, violence, and abuse of human rights, and so much money wastage. So maybe keeping that in mind, they have decided to legalize to reduce that burden. Thank you.
The best part, you completed it within 45 seconds. So that is amazing. The synesthesia answer, I think I would definitely want to give it to you. It's basically merging of senses. So when we say that we hear the faces and we listen to the
Hear
sounds, right?
sounds and hear smells and
That's a
listen
very
sounds.
specific effect that we associate with LSD. And the second part, I think you've answered it. It was an abstract answer, so that was abstract question and an abstract answer. That's good enough. But I think that was a fact that I had in my mind. Why would they want to legalize it? So the answer that I could find was this: that people who will tend to do it will still tend to do it illegally, right?
Yeah.
So just to get it all under a place where it is traceable and transparent is why was the intent with the transparency of legalization marijuana
They
publicly.
can keep those people under their care, so that no matter whatever way it affects them, but it's under their supervision, so they can treat them when and there it is possible.
So thank you, Asmita. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashmita. That was a very wonderful presentation. Thank you, Dr. Amrit and Dr. Amrit Ma'am and Dr. Avi sir for broadening the debate and making it more dimensions, giving it more dimensions. I'm sorry. Okay, we will move on to our next speaker, Palak Dhaka of third year. Palak, can you please switch on your video? Okay. Palak has been given the topic private sector in medical sciences, actual benefits or milking the cash cow.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah. You're
Am I visible? Because I'm not sure. Am I visible?
Yeah, you're visible.
Okay.
And
Okay.
okay.
Sir.
The topic Palak has been given is private sector in medical sciences, actual benefits or milking the cash cow. This is a debate that is happening very widely in our country, especially where there is a huge proliferation of private sector medical science, medical healthcare in our country. So let's see what Palak's opinion and point of view in this topic is. Okay, Palak, is everything ready?
Okay.
The stage is yours.
Okay. So we are well aware of the goal number 3 of UN Sustainable Development Goal, that is to ensure healthy living and promote well-being for all at all ages. So India has a mammoth role in terms of helping the world attain that goal by the year 2030, as we are supposed to. Because without India taking giant strides in the same direction, the world cannot seem to achieve the improvement in these global health indicators. So over the past decade, we have seen how the people have changed their response in availing the healthcare delivery systems in terms of opting for more of private sector based health facilities. Also, with the changing economic and political scenarios and the lifestyle patterns of the people, as well as the fiscal space constraints, we see that there have been a change in the prevalence of disease as well. This all being said, we very well can say that the role of private, there is a very important role of having a public and private sector engagement. So why involving private sector? Because why? I will be asking that why not? Private sector is having a lot of stuff to offer in terms of not only just goods and services, but also in terms of funding and investment, technology and innovation. It already has a benefit in terms of providing greater responsiveness and also providing more, you may say, funds for the proper research background. Talking about research, the very important thing is the COVID-19 vaccine, which we have been working upon. That is that particularly stresses the involvement of more and more involvement of private sector in the health sector. So to sum up, apart from research and other benefits like a boom to the health sector, the IT sector, I will definitely stand for the point that both the public and the private sector should go hand in hand. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Palak. That was very precise, 2-minute presentation. I will go to Dr. Amrit Ma'am for her round of questioning directly. Dr. Amrit Ma'am. Ma'am, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I'll call you Shastri because it's easy to remember. So,
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Hi, Palak. How are you feeling?
Hello, ma'am. I'm feeling fine. A little bit of nervous.
Yeah, so that's why I want to tell you everything is fine. Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So that is the first step when you are doing a debate or when you're asking a question. This is what, carries you far above others. Yeah, stay calm and composed. And no matter your viewpoint is, whether the judges like it or not, you should have a viewpoint. That's it, nothing else.
Yes,
all right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the question here is, what I understood is you're saying that the private sector is going in par with public sector, and then there is no fraud happening in the private sector. You're saying that, so many vaccines have come up and all these things are good and fair to go. And that's what I understood, right? But have you read this book, The Great Australian Medical, I think, Scientific Fraud, The Great Australian Scientific Fraud by Frank Garman. Have you read that book?
No, ma'am, I haven't read the book.
All right. So in that book, actually, many of the people, it was in collaboration with the food industry. The food industry used to put all the contents in the food which are not good for health, all the fried chicken, Kentucky chicken, all these KFCs and burgers and pizzas. And with the result, you get into hypercoagulation and then into hypertension and diabetes. And with the result, instead of correcting the diet, what the doctors were doing was they were actually putting them on 10 different treatments to help the pharmaceutical companies.
Okay.
So this was something which came out around 10 years back, and it was a shock to the normal people. But I'm put up in Bangalore, and here also I've spoken to many of the doctors, my friends, which are working in the private sector, and what they say, Amrit, if we don't do 5 surgeries a day, if a patient, if they're a cardiologist, and if they want to put them on treatment and send them home, observe for 10 days or 20 days, and then prescribe them the surgery, they will say that the hospital will say, no, you haven't done the number of surgeries, which are supposed to be done in a day, and you're fired. So, so this is also something happening. I'm not saying that your viewpoint is wrong. I'm saying the private medical care is doing also, not a private, but government funded institutes are working on a lot of vaccines, and there are some pharmaceutical companies who are genuinely trying to help people. But there is a viewpoint that both the things exist. So as a doctor, I personally feel whenever I approach a patient as a pathologist, that I don't let them go from one doctor to another, third or fourth and fifth and sixth, and come back to the same thing. I make sure that the patient gets proper diagnosis, and then so that they can start the proper treatment. So as a doctors, or as a doctor, you should take the pledge that you don't get into that. This is the first thing that you should do. So go and read that book. I am happy that you like the emerging science. So I think I've become more of a, rather than questions, I think Avi is into asking questions. I'm more into teaching them and, telling them things. So I hope I'm helpful to you guys. And I think my question will be, next time when you meet me, you read this book, and you should know about this world, how they are, trying to trick people, and you should know about the doctors who are forced to trick people. So, these things are important. Okay, to you, Avi.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm glad that in a way I am able to learn as much from you because of all of this. So that's my pleasure. So I'll just take it with 2 simple questions. Can you just, since it's about a private versus a public sector kind of a thing, can you just tell me, are you aware about what system of medical practice runs in the US and the UK both? That's the first question. And I think you can first answer me that, and then I'll just ask you the main question. Yeah.
I feel as much as I'm aware of US, the people in our country are paying. People in our country are paying out of their pockets, while in US they have a more of the taxpayers' money is utilized to pay for the expenses of the people there. So it's more of the government is providing the treatment plan. So no patient or no person is involved in paying their own expenses.
What about UK? Are you aware about UK, England?
UK, I'm not very much sure. But what I think is they definitely have a system of insurance, health insurance, which is much more better than our country.
Okay, so I think you can just stop the time there. I'll just like to tell you something that I know about that place, because I think the conclusion that we draw from this question is really important. So India is a place where both public and private sectors operate. and we are aware about the corruption can occur in either. That's something that we are aware about. UK is one place, it's totally under the government. There's something called the NHS, National Health Service. So every doctor there has to be a part of the NHS. There's no private sector in the UK, and it's doing exceptionally well. They're being offered everything in the practice, and the system for the public is doing amazingly well. The UK, however, what you said about the UK, sorry, is something that is prevalent in US. US is based on private medical practice a lot, and the insurance systems are much stronger in the US, but it's all private. So the conclusion that I want to tell you from here is it really does not matter if something is private or public. The potential of corruption can be in either direction, right? So you need to ensure the laws are strict enough and the intent of the people, of the doctors, is right enough to make it for the public, because it's our profession by definition that we have to serve the public, right? The second question is just your thought process on something. I recently observed this. There was this OBGY hospital where you do the deliveries of the children. So in a private place, I would not like to name the hospital, but they had packages. Like there was this hotel room kind of a service that, oh, we'll do your baby shower along with your, when you get your baby. If you have a girl, then we have this room for you. If you have a boy, you have this room for you. We have a baby shower. Do you want a VIP package? Do you want a VVIP package? And this was not a hotel. This was a hospital. So that is something that outshoots from a private sector building. What is your view on that?
I feel that yes, definitely there are both hospitals which are both having these kind of like 5-star hotel-like treatment. Also, there are private hospitals which have which genuinely want to help the patients. So I guess the government should get involved more with this. Coming up of more policies to regulating this kind of practice, because it will kind of encourage, you may say, more encourage commercialization of medical practice, and which is not a good thing in the long run. If it just becomes about the money, then it's the medical field is not about the money. It's more of about the duty or what we actually want to, like what we want to help, how we want to help the people. So I guess I think that commercialization of like hospitals which indulge in such practices should be strictly reprimanded for their actions, and if they don't, you may say, if they don't comply in the first warning, then they might have their even their license or registration cancelled, I think.
All right, thank you, Falak. I think you've kept your view forward, but I think as long as we don't have any concrete laws, no one on paper is in the wrong. Anyone who has money would want to say, why not? Why do I not take up the comforts, right? It has to be a very moral approach towards it. And I think only once we have the laws can something be decided where the balance can lie. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Palak. And thank you, Dr. Amrita ma'am and Avi sir, for the extremely interesting questioning round. Yes, ma'am.
Shastri, one more thing. I'm not noting down the timings of the questions, so I think it's getting a little prolonged. So you keep a check on them.
That's fine, ma'am. We are taking down the timings. We'll be sending you a list at the end of the session. Okay. Now we will move on to our fifth speaker, Rachana Phadke, another third-year student. Okay, Rachana has switched on her video. She is precautionary. Thank you. Yes, you are audible, Rachana. Her topic is euthanasia, a moral conundrum. This is a topic which I was personally introduced to by the movie Me Before You. I don't know how many people have seen the movie. Anyway, I'm distracting from the point. Her topic is euthanasia, a moral conundrum. This debate has been happening for quite a few years based on many sites in various parts of the globe contributing to it. Today, it is Rachana's turn to contribute to this global debate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the fifth speaker for the day, Rachana Phadke. The stage is yours, Rachana.
Thank you. In March 2018, India's Supreme Court issued a landmark ruling allowing passive euthanasia, declaring that individuals have the right to die with dignity under strict guidelines. Derived from the Greek word for good death, euthanasia is the act of deliberately ending someone's life in order to relieve their suffering. The 4 pillars of bioethics need to be addressed while drawing conclusions about legalizing active euthanasia. Euthanasia provides a way to relieve an individual from a mammoth of suffering. It gives them the right to evaluate their essence of life and live and end it in a dignified manner without any force. The underlying principle of this is autonomy, obligation to respect patients as individuals and to honor their preference in accepting or not accepting care. In addition, the principle of justice asserts that it is unjust to deny such patients the opportunity to end their pain. While the principle of non maleficence calls for doctors to do no harm, the principle of beneficence can be interpreted as a physician's ethical duty to act in a patient's best interest by acting to end pain and making his inevitable death a little easier. The debate remains ongoing on factors to be considered while deciding whether or not to end life. The benefits are clear, but whether its approval would bring justice to the people suffering or lead to a slippery slope in which euthanasia is extended to non terminally ill patients is for the future to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachna, for that humanistic perspective on the topic. I will now go to our first judge, Dr. Amrit Ma'am, for her round of questioning.
Hi, Rachna. See, being a teacher, it has its own perks, but I could easily make out that you're reading your answer. You're not expressing it. So, that actually goes not in favor of the expression part of your speech. So, in a debate or in a when you're answering a question like this, it has to come from the something which I wanted to comment. And content, I would like to say yes, it was well written. And my question always stays not is it relevant? That is always my question. What are your views on that?
Thank you for your question, ma'am. So, I think while considering this question, it is important to note whether or not the person has left a living will.
Yeah.
So, if he has, obviously the guidelines of the will need to be followed. And if he hasn't, I think it is just ethical or moral to go to the next living relative to ask for their consent about deciding what happens in regards to the treatment or euthanasia, if that matters.
There is no moral answer to any of these sensitive matters. It's I think ethical is the one which needs to be considered here, because the patient is not well and he has no say in whether he wants to live or not. Maybe when he wants to come back, he wants to live. I mean, it's very difficult. And one more question: which country has actually legalized euthanasia? First country. Name me the first country. Because
I think Poland.
Poland? Okay.
I'm not sure.
The first country was Netherlands in 2012. All right. Over to you, Avi.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think she was geographically very close to the answer. So I also thanks for that quiz part. I really needed to brush up my memory on that. And okay, so just moving on directly to the questions. Points have been the expression, the content part have been obviously told by ma'am. I agree with ma'am totally. So I'll just move on to the questions. The first question is a factual question. Is euthanasia legalized in India? And if yes, what kind of euthanasia is legalized in India? And the second part would be there are 4 pillars of bioethics, as you mentioned, right? So are the 4 pillars equal, or are they in some priority? Because sometimes your action might be in favor of one pillar, but it might contradict the other pillar, right? Social justice, you might be benefiting someone, but you might be harming a lot of other people. So that is beneficence and non-maleficence contradicting each other. So are these 4 pillars equal? And if not, which pillar comes to the first priority?
Thank you for your question, sir. So, to answer the first part of your question, passive euthanasia is legalized in India since March 2018. And to answer the second part of your question, all four pillars are not equal. Obviously, the benefits of one need to be balanced against the other. So, the pillar which overrules all is autonomy, because a patient's consent and what the patient wants matters more than what the doctor feels is good for the patient or what his relatives feel is good for him. Thank you.
Perfect. I think again the best part, you ended it in within time, so that goes in your favor. Very rightly said. The very sequence that we say the name of these pillars is the very sequence of their priority. So autonomy definitely comes first. That has a lot of clauses to it in different situations, how to proceed differently with it. As ma'am very rightly said, I loved that statement that there's no correct moral answer. So we need to approach it the ethical way. So I'm going to take that with me. And the first part is also absolutely right. Passive euthanasia is taking away the life-saving equipment rather than the active euthanasia, which is delivering a fatal substance. And that is the euthanasia that is legalized in India. So I think we'll wrap up this question session. Thank you, Rachna.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rachna. Thank you, Dr. Dr. Ravi sir, and Dr. Amrit ma'am. I don't have any more words to say about this, so we'll just straight go to the next speaker. The next speaker is Archishman Mazumdar, a second-year student.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible and you're visible, Archishman. Archishman's topic is legalization of human genome editing, A or nay. This topic has come to great spotlight recently due to many developments happening in China and the US, etc. So we'll see what Archishman's point of view on this is. Ladies and gentlemen, our sixth speaker for the day, Archishman Mazumdar. The stage is yours.
Great first, when in 2018, Dr. He Jiankui in the second International Summit of Human Genome Editing told the world that he had used CRISPR technology to edit the CCR5 gene in 2 babies and make them HIV resistant. And there was a huge hue and cry over it. He was later prosecuted, and there was this huge debate regarding the legalization of it. So I think what we know of human genome editing at present, it's far from perfect. So there is a lot of things that we don't know, such as the long-term safety implications, then persistent effects, and even in target effects. And at present, we do not have any way of measuring those off-target effects. So a lot of it is unknown, and I think with we shouldn't go forward with legalization as it is premature. Also, if we consider legalization, we should also look at the socio-cultural impact it may have. And there are a whole lot of things that can happen. For example, if we legalize it, eugenics can come up in a big way, as people may want desirable traits in their babies, what mainstream media calls as designer babies. I think that this can also reinforce perceived social hierarchies. The private sector will also probably come in, and it can lead to an increase in economic and social inequalities. And the Ovid Convention in 1997 had also pointed out that legalization of human genome editing would lead to a big problem of human rights and human dignity. Some argue that we should follow a regulatory approach rather than prohibitory, such as prenatal genetic diagnosis. But I think it's a very slippery slope, as the definitions are not very clear, and the clear-cut line between enhancement and treatment cannot be made. I would conclude by saying that many say that just like justice, a therapy delayed is therapy denied. But I think in medicine that doesn't work, as non-maleficence comes first. And as long as we don't address the safety issues, we should not think of legalization. And we are a long way from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Archishman, for that balanced presentation of the various sides. I now ask Dr. Amrit ma'am to begin her round of questioning.
Thank you, Shastri. And I think I'll call you Dr. Mazumdar, that feels much better because we have Dr. Mazumdar, not Dr. Mazumdar, but Mazumdar Shaw Cancer Center here in Bangalore, which is uh, quite quite a good work. So actually, Mazumdar, I just loved your answer. I just loved it. The way you had expressed it and the way you have put up your viewpoint. I think in content, I'll give you 10 out of 10. I'm so happy and impressed by the way you feel that it should not be legalized and it should be kept under reform. And there should be some strict laws pertaining to the protection of the data, which is very, 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 very significant. What I personally feel is there are so many diseases. There are germline mutations and there are somatic mutations, and somatic mutations are very are present in a majority of the times, and germline mutations are in a few number of cases. But nowadays, there is so much of treatment which is available based on those mutations, and based on that preventive health checkup, you can just find out which genes are mutated and which might help in the prevention of that particular cancer and for the follow-up of the patient. So there are uses to it, but definitely there are no laws, strict laws, which is legislation, which is required for protection of the data. So it has its advantages, but as usual, the human spirit is always positive and negative, and there is always a negative part of it. So very good, excellent. So you spoke about the designer babies. So do you know which year it was, done? Designer babies was done.
The first non-viable embryos that were modified by CRISPR was in 2015. I think by some doctor J something, and there was a Jordanian baby in Mexico in 2016 that was using mitochondrial replacement therapy, and in the that year it came up in the first international summit of human genome editing. It was discussed and the ethical considerations were all discussed, and everyone agreed that it shouldn't be legalized in that summit. And the very next year, using pronuclease therapy, there was a Ukrainian baby where in the paper it had come that there is a 3-parent baby. So yeah,
you're losing your time, so I think that I'll cut you on that. So I think you're going to be a good doctor. So keep reading about a lot of things and keep updating your knowledge, because it's not only about your pharmacology and pathology. It's about the world around you, how it works, the rules and regulations, how it can be improved. That's always my strong suit. That how to improve this aspect of society or this aspect of the disease. This is how I like to approach, because whatever is existing has to change according to the new generation. So you have to think in terms of the patient, health or the management, and of course it should help us, the doctors. So please keep working hard, keep reading, update your knowledge, and then when there's a lacuna after reading, this is something which is missing. This is where you start working on it. This is how we manage. All right, thank you so much. Over to you, Avi.
Thank you, Dr. Amber. I think, Artis, you have done something very exceptional, especially with the content. This is something which I personally am super inclined to. The Human Genome Project, as everyone's heard. One thing that I feel about how we study in India, or at least our books, I feel that the world in its research is way ahead than what we study. So, genetic basis of diseases is something which was probably about 10 years from today. They weren't discussed or explored as much, but I think that has answers to a lot of solutions, a lot of questions, right? So very briefly, I just want to ask you a couple of questions. You mentioned CRISPR. Do you know the full form of CRISPR?
It's clustered regularly, interspersed, short palindromic repeats.
That's perfect. The next question that I want to ask you is, what's your take about epigenetics? this is genetics, epigenetics, or do you understand anything by genetic imprinting?
Yeah, so epigenetic is basically silencing of particular parts of genomes such by methylation, with DNA methylation and all, where if the DNA coils it gets too condensed on the histones, it doesn't get transcribed and translated, and so there are downstream changes that happen. That's epigenetics, the study of this process. It comes up in a big way in cancer and all, where there are a lot of epigenetic changes happening. And genetic imprinting is basically where, due to epigenetic changes, if a particular gene is inherited from the father or from the mother, the results would be different. So, like Prader-Willi and syndrome.
I would also stop you there so that we can save your time. All right, and there's no doubt that you have the right knowledge. The content is absolutely perfect. Still points to you on that. One thing that I want to do here is, like, what we actually usually do is we have the factual knowledge about stuff. When someone asks us the definition of epigenetics, we know it. We know genetics very well. But sometimes we just don't see it from the perspective what it actually can mean to the society, right? There was this era of genetics when we realized that, oh, diseases are genetically based. So if my XYZ son has this gene in the body, I'll have to deal with it. That's it. That's because it has that specific gene or that mutation in the gene. So the philosophy of the society changed like that, that there's nothing now we can do about it. All we can do it is accept it. When the revolution of epigenetics came, which is a very different phenomenon, that how you, even though have the gene, we can do changes, we can change lifestyles in a way where we can silence the gene even if it is present, or we can express the gene if it is not expressing. And yes, DNA methylation is the most common way we perceive genetics, but it has much more, including DNA acetylation and imprinting. Exactly how you said, how beautiful it is that how two genes which are identical in every way, and your body decides which gene has been inherited by your father or your mother based on an epigenetic signature. I think if you have interest into it, it has wide scope for you. All the very best. You did an amazing job.
You know, Avi, I would just like to add something here. Now the pathology, is moving pathology is the basis of disease. Now everything, instead of the environmental, has become a genetic basis for disease. Everything has to be shifted to genes. And now I think if we give a histopathological diagnosis to any patient, that's not enough. We need a genetic marker, and we need the chromosomal translocation to start the treatment of the patient. So I always say that, we need to move on to the next generation pathologists now, not only next generation sequencing, but, we need to upgrade ourselves to next generation pathologists, because it's not, the histopathology is not going to help the patient now. So it has to go much, much deeper. So yeah, you made me so happy with the answer and with the question, Avi. You also have a very deep knowledge, and Mazumdar, you did a great job. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mazumdar, and thank you, Dr. Amrit Ma'am and Dr. Avi sir. This was a very interesting conversation for me as a part of the audience. And I was just thinking about how we will not be able to control this genome editing. Once this is there, it's like you're trying to control time travel. How hard will it be to control parents who want their child exactly like they imagine their children to be? The idea of how society will start interacting with this in its own biased ways of what the next generation should mean is really something else. Okay, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Archishman. We'll be moving on to our 7th speaker of the day, Dhruv Indresh, another third-year student.
Hello.
Hello, Indresh. Is your audio and video okay?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, it's good. It's good. Okay. Dhruv's topic is an intersection of our social issues and literally our medical textbooks, what we are seeing every day. It's a very interesting place to play around, and the topic is classification of LGBTQ+ as mental illnesses in medical textbooks, the repercussions. Dhruv, your time will start the moment I say go.
Okay.
So keep it ready. our ladies and gentlemen, our seventh speaker for the day, Dhruv and Dinesh. The stage is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to talk about the person refers themselves to. And third one is the gender dysphoria, which is the most important term, which basically means that a person is unsure of his or her sexual orientation or gender identification. This is important because studies have shown that when transsexuals are praised for being open about their sexual orientation, they're more likely to be open to people because they feel more sure of themselves. Basically, less of the gender dysphoria. This applies to discussions with healthcare providers as well. It is paramount for doctors in developing a rapport with the community, which is essential for providing proper treatment. This can be hampered if we classify them as mental illness, as a mental illness, and throw them into the mental institutions for being who they are. Studies have consistently shown that because of lack of communication or knowledge, or sometimes downright discrimination towards them, transsexuals are less likely to report to healthcare services, which can be counterproductive in dealing with infectious disease like HIV or cancers, which are in high risk with transsexual behaviors. There's also the possibility of their parents sending them to correction camps to cure them, which can destroy one's confidence in themselves and create suicidal feelings in them. In my personal opinion, we should work towards helping them feel more comfortable by helping them feel like they're a part of society and can be who they want to be. And also by educating the society as a whole so that they can be more welcoming to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhruv. That was a very concise presentation of the topic. I will directly go to Dr. Amrit ma'am to begin her round of questioning.
Thank you, Shastri. Hi, Dhruv. How are you doing?
Yeah, a little nervous.
Yes. So the question was not about the do's and the don'ts and afterwards what happens, when the society doesn't accept you. The question was, is LGBT plus a mental illness? I'm giving you a chance to give an answer.
Ma'am, for being who a person is, it's not a mental illness. It's a behavior, ma'am. You cannot classify something that a person wants to do as a mental illness, in my opinion.
So it's not a mental illness. So that was the question. So I'll give you 45 seconds more to tell me why these people should not be classified as mental illness. I mean, one is the behavior, and anything else you want to add. Of course, it is a preference, yeah, of course. And then if they, tell me.
Ma'am, 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 actually, I cannot speak about this enough because I have no experience with any of the community whatsoever. But what I can say is, being something who you want, like being who you want to be, you should not be punished, because we all know how mental illness people are being treated in today's world. That they're not treated with the respect that they deserve, even though they do the same amount of work as we do. Even then, they are treated in a bad way.
So what I conclude is, in this modern era, there's a place for everybody. There is a space, there is a place for everyone. And we as human beings, and next as doctors, we need to give them a space to express themselves. There's nothing abnormal as a behavior. It's your own personal choice. So I don't think so. We have to include this as a mental illness. That is my conclusion. And how you relate yourself personally, that is equally important. And you have to let it express, and you have to give them the space to express themselves, even though it's all what is true hermaphrodite and pseudo hermaphrodite. So it's based on the hormones. It is not based on anything mentally or a mentally sick person. It's not about that. So this is what we have to make sure that the people are aware of it, and people don't mistreat other people who are showing such characteristics. So it is not a mental illness. That's my conclusion here. And all the students, all the medical students, should just go and spread this word to everybody around that this is problem of the hormones and the ovaries and testes, which both are present in the same human being, or sometimes the opposite, which is present phenotypically and genotypically. So that's what I think. I want all the students to spread the news forward and help people understand this problem. So because many people, they don't know, it is a stigma in Indian society, and which is very common in US. I feel, I'm not sure about the Europe, but in US I think it is legalized and nobody even objects to it. Even gay marriages and all these are very legal. So in India, I think the process is still bad, and especially in the villages and all. So I think we as doctors, we have a lot of opportunity to go ahead and correct the system. All right, Dhruv, you don't need to have a personal experience to do all these things. You just need to understand the science behind it and just go with it. Okay? All right. Bye. Over to you, Avi.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dhruv. You've expressed your views quite well. But right, as rightly pointed by ma'am, what exactly is the question? And before I move forward with my question, there's something that I would like to say. The reason that you gave that why it's not a mental disease is because that is their behavior, right? It was one of the justifications. I'm not exactly sure that what would prof you from. I think what I can recall and what I can try and give it here. There's something called in psychiatry, something called as personality disorders. Okay, something called as personality something. There's something called personality disorders, which are disorders which are classified so because they are persistent ways of behaviors which are not necessarily normal. Okay, so that in my head is not a very valid justification because there are other behaviors that can be qualified as being a disorder, right? But what we need to understand from here is, I feel, is that is what they relate to, that is their identity. Even that behavior itself is not abnormal, is I think what I would want to believe, right? So we as doctors, exactly as ma'am said, you don't need to meet someone to understand what the pathology, what the state of mind is, because we as doctors have this responsibility of treating people as individuals, right? So that way it is nice. So my question to you would be, are you aware about a term which is one, and number two is, what do you understand by sex and gender? Are they one and the same?
So to answer your question, the first question, sexually fluid means they are they don't identify themselves as one gender as such. They identify themselves as a spectrum. As we all know, gender is actually a spectrum. It's not binary. So I think that sexual fluidity means they identify themselves as more than one of the spectrum. Now, for the second question, sex and gender are not the same. Sex is assigned by birth, and gender is what the person feels over their lifetime.
Okay, two amazing points here. You ended out well in time, and I think you've given bang on answers, so that is perfectly fine. Sexually fluidic, just like a fluid, you tend to relate to one particular perception. You flow towards one end of the spectrum at some given time, and you tend to flow on the other end of the spectrum at some other time, right? So that is one of the pluses in the LGBTQ plus.
Intersex, demisexual. Yeah.
Yes. And the other part, sex and gender, I think you've explained it very well. Sex is your biological sex, and gender is something that you relate as a personality, right? So I think you answered it well. Thank you. All the best.
Excuse me. I had one doubt. Like the topic was they mentioned repercussions. I thought that it was it meant that what will be the bad effects of classifying it as mental illness. So sorry about that.
All right. Well point kept. We'll consider that, I think. Don't worry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you, Dr. Amrit ma'am and Dr. Ravi sir. The same. This topic is very close to heart for me. I think I look forward to ignoring. The eighth speaker for today is Sahil Video.
Yeah. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, Sahil, you are audible. Sahil's topic is something that is very prevalent in India, especially homeopathy, a placebo or a step towards holistic healthcare. Sahil, your time will start the moment I say go.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our eighth speaker for the day, Sahil Shah. The stage is yours, Sahil.
Should I start?
Yes, Sahil, please.
Okay, so I'll start by explaining the terms in the topic. So basically, holistic medicine is an umbrella term used to describe treatment not only on the basis of the clinical symptoms the patient presents with, but also considers the and emotional well-being before recommending treatment. It integrates conventional medicine such as drugs and modern diagnostic tests with certain vernacular traditional practices. On the other hand, a minuscule amount of what is bad for you is good for you. 2, like cures like. And 3, the body can trigger a healing response when given the least amount of medicine. It generally does not incorporate uses of diagnostic medical tests. Homeopathy practitioners they use quantum dilution. Final dilution lacks the remedy itself, and the solution is indistinguishable from the diluent. It is asserted by homeopaths that this series of successive dilutions leads to certain molecular interactions that leaves a memory of the remedy in the diluent, which is effective in just as crazy and outrageous as it sounded when you heard me saying it. If you have a story why you got sick in the first place completely lacks a holistic perspective. So in conclusion, purely on the basis of all the evidence we have today, it is safe to regard homeopathy as placebo. It does not follow all conventions of holistic medicine, but I will not be surprised if the future gives us substantial scientific evidence that explains the overwhelming success of homeopathy we have today, after which we may accept that homeopathy is legit, scientifically sanctioned medicine.
Thank you, Sahil, for that very energetic presentation. I will directly go to Dr. Amrit ma'am for her round of questioning.
I'm not able to see the screen. Can you do something about it?
Which screen, ma'am? Sahil's or the?
I'm able to do that now. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shastri. Sahil, I can't see you. I can only see your spectacles.
God. Actually, I'm using a mobile, so I'm not able to see how I look myself.
Okay.
Did that create an issue or something in passing the point across?
No,
okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
No. I just like to see my students when I'm judging them.
I'm really sorry. Okay. I didn't realize it.
Okay. No. But your presentation was excellent. I loved your content. It was very well explained. And I also appreciate your viewpoint that exactly homeopathy has no meaning whatsoever.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so nowadays I'll just add a few points to your thing because I feel it's a teaching thing, and my goal in life is to pass on my knowledge to as many students as possible. Sure. And the positive energy which sometimes some teachers have, I really like to imbibe it, and sometimes I like to pass it on. So I'll just add a little bit to it. Nowadays the preventive health checkup, what they say is ki allopathy is only for the emergency conditions when you don't have a choice, but otherwise definitely the body has an immense power to heal itself. You should not start on Disprin or anything else unless it is really required. Okay. I met one endocrinologist, and I'm just trying to give you my own example. And I have being a Punjabi from Amritsar, we are very prone to eating all those mithaiya, sweets, basically milk-made products, and khoyas and everything. And I have a high cholesterol level of 237, 240, 250, right from so many years, 25 years by now, so it has never gone down. So I just went, and my mom has the same condition and my brother has the same similar problem. So we just went to endocrinologist. He was really, really nice. And I told him, sir, I think my family is only familial hypercholesteremia. You know, I was so sure about it. And then, you know what he said? He was just calm down and he said, madam, everything is in the kitchen. So
Okay.
you change your diet, everything will fall in place. You know, you
Mhm.
don't have to overtreat yourself and overexpose yourself to toxins. What
Right.
are medicines? They're just toxins. So allow your body to heal itself. What is fever? Fever is basically 100-degree temperature is the response of the body towards an external toxin or a bacteria.
Yeah.
Right. So if you start treating that fever, what is the point? I mean, you're not letting your body heal. So only
Okay.
use it only when it is really above 102. You should start using, because
Yeah.
high fever means it will, affect your brain as well. So you should allow it to heal itself. I mean, the local methods of putting, cold water sponges really help. Homeopathy is a waste of time and a waste of energy.
Yeah.
It's not that I am a allopathy doctor, so I'm trying to demean. But I have heard many of the situations in which, these people, they have put steroids for asthma treatment and all those things. So many kaplas have happened
Yeah.
in the past. So I
Mhm.
actually, tell these people that you should not go into it. So
Ha.
honestly, Sahil, I have no question about that, because I think you are very clear in your funda. So I really love it.
Ma'am, can I just add like a small point to this? Like totally in agreement with you. Something more. So I just wanted to say ki homeopathy is like India is one of those regions where homeopathy is worshipped by a lot of people. And actually, this topic I have I don't know, a feud, I guess, something pertaining to homeopathy, because a few years ago I was diagnosed with a very mild form of psoriasis. As a result of which I had to undergo homeopathic treatment, and obviously it didn't work. So yeah, so that's what actually bugs me down. Even Ayurveda has a certain amount of scientific background behind it, but homeopathy has I mean, the only scientific evidence they have is quantum theory, like how you are explaining something that is biological by something that is physics, and honestly plain nonsense.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Even our Indian pepper or haldi or
Hmm.
dalchini,
Yeah.
these play wonders at times.
Yeah,
Neem.
exactly. Turmeric
So
and that, they are beautiful. Huh.
yes, yes. I think we should go to Avi. We are losing time.
Yes.
Chalo,
Sorry, ma'am.
Avi,
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I think, Sahil, I don't have to emphasize enough. Your expression was amazing. The content, exactly like how ma'am said, what matters is you have to have a viewpoint, right?
Yes.
And you had an amazing viewpoint. And what I personally agree to it quite a lot. I'm learning here, but the best thing was that you had a viewpoint which you kept ahead very strongly. So I love it.
Thank you, sir.
So one factual question and one regular question. So
Okay.
I think you're pretty much aware about what Ayush stands for. Can you just tell me what Ayush stands for?
Okay. So Ayush stands for एक minute. Uh,
I
एक minute.
I always wanted to be a Viva teacher someday and ask this question.
It's Y. A is for Ayurveda,
And you're doing good, Avi.
and wait, एक minute. A is for Ayurveda, Y is for yoga. Uh, I don't know S. U is for Unani, I think. H is homeopathy. I don't know S.
Frankly, I had to reconsider my S as well. So it's Siddha. So that's Ayush. That's a theoretical question.
Oh,
But
actually, Siddha is something rare, which like all these 4 words I've heard of.
yeah.
Isliye.
So I think you can just stop the timer for the time being. I'll just ask another question after that. So I mean, that's just to tell that we live in a society, in a country where I would say quite a lot of lack of scientific knowledge, and things are being progressed to such a grand, huge level anyway, right? And one question I'll ask you, but before that, I agree to your point, but there's one justification you gave relating quantum science to biological fields.
Yeah.
what, actually that is kind of true in a lot of ways, but that makes sense only once you can prove it, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure everyone knows about the migratory birds who know to go to the right direction without anything else, right? So if you search Wikipedia, you'll find a beautiful presentation by Ted Ed, which tells you how quantum biology is actually something. But exactly, following it without any logical explanation does not make us any more scientists, right?
Yeah.
The last part is, do you know what quaternary prevention is? There's something called primordial, primary, secondary, tertiary. There's something called quaternary.
I've heard of it. I don't exactly know what it stands for. Yeah, so like I cannot define it. Well, I don't know how to define it. I've heard of it obviously in PSM classes and second year में PSM classes.
Let me tell you, in our PSM classes, as of now, I think the latest version of Quark also does not have it, what quaternary prevention is, because I got it from a very beautiful place and it hit me really hard. It's a modern day problem.
Okay.
Tertiary, secondary is treating
I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tertiary
Okay.
is
Like
rehabilitation, and quaternary is preventing yourself from the disadvantages of over treatment. Exactly like how.
Okay.
So that is a modern day problem, right? And the last question, I think I want your views on, people justify homeopathy by saying that that is how vaccines work, right? Something which is harmful to you, given in a small amount, is actually beneficial to you. What is your view on that?
Once again, holding back to my viewpoint, it is a very outrageous argument. I don't think vaccines and homeopathy work on the same paradigm. In vaccines, what you do is inoculate like the person with something that is harmful to you. Okay, this is something that is followed by homeopathy as well. But what homeopathy does, it undergoes serial dilutions of that homeopathic remedy to the extent that sometimes that remedy itself disappears from the entire diluent. So that is not enough to generate a response, and that is not enough to generate a response in the patient to the extent that vaccines do. Vaccines are they insert antigens or pathogens of that particular disease, while in homeopathy, any natural source without any scientific background of that source causing the same symptom is inserted into the patient. So that principle is not at all equal to what is followed by vaccines.
Exactly. So I think as long as you can justify scientifically what you're doing, that's okay. But
exactly. Yeah.
It's not. Thank you, Sahil. You did an amazing job. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Amrit ma'am, and thank you, Dr. Ravi sir. It was a very, it was a very technically and Ashutosh's topic is contraceptives imbalance, male and female birth control. It's a very interesting topic which has a lot of underlying social issues at play. And today is Ashutosh's day to contribute to the debate and discussion around this topic. Ashutosh, your timer will start from the moment I say go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our ninth and final speaker for the day, Ashutosh Keshi. Ashutosh, the stage is yours.
Good evening, everyone. So let me start off with an example. So you've gone to an Indian restaurant with your friend, and you're in the mood for some Italian food. So you look at the options on the menu, and you have a pizza and pasta. Those are the only two options. Food is looking at a whole page and more than a page of options of Indian foods, including starters and main course. So when it comes to our topic, I think it's similar. When you look at female contraceptives, you have dozens of options, whereas when you look at male contraceptives, the approved ones are only two, that is vasectomy and condoms, and there are others which are under research. So with this example, I would like to welcome you all to the imbalance that exists between the two genders when it comes to the topic of contraception. Another thing, so we have always known that when it comes to reproduction, a female has a greater role to play, or it takes more effort from the female, because there is something called the menstrual cycle, which happens every month, and the female has to also deal with pregnancy for 9 months, deal with all the physical and emotional changes associated, and she also has to breastfeed the baby. So so humans, after that, they realize that their rate of sexual intercourse is higher than the rate at which they want to increase their population. So there was the need for contraception. So the ideal situation would be that the male contributes more in the act of contraception. Sadly, ironically, this is not true. So, and especially in the patriarchal society that we live here in our country, the frequency of sexual intercourse is decided mainly by the male population, whereas the burden of family planning rests on the female population. So, on a lighter note, all of us who have played gully cricket know that there is this one person who only wants to do the batting and he runs off when it's time for the fielding. So I think there's a similar scenario here. Coming to the methods which are available, the permanent methods, as we know, vasectomy is a better method. It's safer. There is faster reversal. There's lesser hospital stay. Whereas tubectomy usually requires general anesthesia and requires greater hospital stay. And by seeing this, we would expect vasectomy to be more common. But the stark difference is that tubectomy is 52 times more common than vasectomy. Now, coming to the conclusion, while there may be several limitations and shortcomings with the known methods of male contraception, I think the single most important factor is our inability to break free of the chains of patriarchy, which is so deep-rooted in our society. And I fail to accept that the same minds which have come up with dozens of contraceptives for females are unable to develop more than 2 contraceptive options when it comes to males. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh, for that socially relevant case presentation. I will directly go to Dr. Amrit ma'am for her round of questioning. Amrit ma'am.
Yeah, Shastri, can you just repeat the topic? What was the topic?
The topic was contraceptives imbalance, male and female birth control.
Okay, all right. Hi, Ashutosh. You're in
Hello.
which year?
I'm in final year.
Final year, okay. I liked your confidence. You presented it. First of all,
Thank you.
the content, and then the social content, and then the stigma attached to it, and how the females are affected by it. You know, nowadays it's a generation that the men take the upper hand in everything, and, you know, they become the building blocks for women around, you know. It's time that we need to change that. Otherwise, you know, they very commonly put it across: for every successful man, there's a woman, and for every woman, there is never a man. So there is always another woman, or, you know, the mother or the mother-in-law. So, you know, you people, you generation have to change that. And I was fortunate enough to have such husband. So you know, it really affected my career. It really affected my thinking, the way I took life, the way I approach to things. So, you know, it's very important that we give independence to women thinking and the way of life. So my question to you here is, at some year back, I think in late 90s, I think the Rajiv Gandhi's elder son, he started a scheme, government scheme in which the vasectomies was done invariably, even if you have one child or two childs. So, and it was really opposed by many people that, you know, he's making the men sterile, you know, in the long run. So what is your viewpoint on that?
Yes, ma'am. I think that's a very good question, and there are 2 aspects to this. So the thing is, while it is unfair that females have to undergo various methods of contraceptions with many severe adverse effects, and the males are usually not advised, or they're not recommended to have contraception. Whereas in a relationship, there should be a balance, and both should play an equal role. But at the same time, I believe it is the autonomy of the couple and the individual. And I don't believe it is right to make a government policy which mandates something like this, because it takes away the choice over one's own life. That is what I feel. What needs to happen is there needs to be more health education about sex, and sex should be removed as a taboo topic from the households, and children, and there should be more reach to the society, like villages and everywhere, and the topic of male and female equality, inequality needs to be well explained.
But there is so much, in the good cities like Bangalore, or you can say not even in Delhi, there is still a lot of gap between the. It's so difficult to understand people that about this inequality. They just don't get it. I mean, it's going to take another 50 years to bring up this change. But Ashutosh, I really loved your answer. I really loved it. You have a good point of view on that policy, and it should not be a force to people. The education needs to be done. Perfect. 10 out of 10 from me. All right. Over to you, Avi.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would definitely have to say this. I mean, the way you answered the question spontaneously and so perfectly, I think you have an amazing viewpoint, as ma'am said. So totally agree with it. I'll probably not ask you anything abstract because you've expressed your viewpoint so beautifully. That's good enough. So two little questions. If you're in final prof, I think they might be easy for you, but let's just try them out. Don't worry.
Okay.
So there's some specific index that is used to determine the success of a contraceptive. Do you know what the name of that index is?
I think it's Pearl's index.
It's Pearl index, right? Okay, just continuing to that. There's some female pathology which has specifically something called the pearl ovaries, or a string of pearls appearance.
Yeah, I've heard of this. Wait, can I take a few seconds?
Yeah.
String of pearls.
Oyster ovaries. Have you heard of them?
Is it tuberculosis
No,
of the
it's
ovary?
something called, which is very common cause of secondary infertility. Polycystic ovarian disease, right? So Rotterdam criteria 2003. Well, I think it's one thing I would just want to address here. It's something that it's very common. It's very important for people to understand because it's highly prevalent for both men and women to understand PCOD. It's that prevalent. I think it's 2 to 3 out of every 5 females in those age might have this experience, suffer from them, and there's an unnecessary stigma associated with it. So I think that's important to understand. Okay, the last question relevant to that would be you've talked about vasectomy, right? Which is one of the ways that males can be sterilized. There's a conventional vasectomy, and there's a more compliant way that vasectomy is performed in the more modern times. Do you know the name of that technique?
Yes, there are actually 3 things that I can talk about. One is the conventional one. The other one is there's something called no scalpel vasectomy, where there's a minimal incision and there are no stitches which are required. And there's another advancement which is done by AIMS India, which is under research, which is RISUG, which is reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance, in which they inject a non-sclerosing substance, and which can be reversed by flushing sodium bicarbonate. After it lasts for around 10 to 13 years.
So I think I'll just tell this to everyone. What I was expecting was NSV, non-scalpel vasectomy. You've killed the question amazingly by answering it to one another level. So kudos to you. Great job on that. So thank you, Ashutosh. That's the end.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh, and thank you, Dr. Amrit ma'am and Dr. Avi sir, for extending the discussion and debate around all these topics. We have reached the end of our session today. All 9 speakers are done, and the question now for the first time is for the judges. When are we getting the results?
My results are ready. I am done. I can send you right away, but this does not include the timings, and that part I think Avi will handle that. But I am done with my winners, first runner-up, second runner-up right now, because for me, the important part is the way you answer, and because the personality is much more important than your education. Education will keep happening, but the way the person you become in life is very important. So, and Shastri, I have a question.
Yes.
All these questions, all these students are from which medical colleges?
All these students are from all over India. They are from various medical colleges. This was a national event. So basically any medical student in any year of undergraduate course could enter the competition. And from all years entered. So we have this huge spread of second years, third years, final years, and interns in the final round based on that.
Okay. Anyway, nice to meet them, and they are doing a good job. I mean, you guys are also doing a good job doing all this, and I would like to thank you once again to Avi, Shastri, and my student Sneh, who brought me in, and I really thoroughly enjoyed. It's really nice to hear the young generation,
It was such a wonderful session. So I'll be going through each of us. First, I want to thank our great judges today. First, Dr. Amrit ma'am, for not merely just judging us, but like every great teacher, expanding our horizons, explaining and guiding us through all the topics that we reached today. Secondly, I want to thank Dr. Ravi sir for his very unique way of dual round Viva style questioning, where he's going through the relevant factual topics and the subjective opinions of each of the speakers and putting it in the broader context of the debate around the topic. And again, I want to thank Dr. Ravi sir again for his role as Vochi of AMSA, for supporting us through all stages of this event and for all of our cooked up, non-standard, out-of-the-box type. Thankful for that. So that is second time for Dr. Ravi sir. Today, the quality of discussion anywhere depends on what each person is bringing to the table, and each contestant brought a very well-formed opinion and a great presentation around that opinion, and that is as we went. I want to thank my college head Sneh and my college head Srijani ma'am. Sneh, I don't know if her video is paused or she was just like this for a long time. Thank you, both of you, for supporting. Again, we had a lot of debates when we were planning this event on how we should do it and all the other out of the box kind of crazy stuff we thought. Thank you for supporting us through all of that and not having this senior junior idea. We should really thank you for that. And I think all of our organizers deserve a great applause from all of us, especially from my side. It is my great pleasure to be working with all of them toward making the quiz. And all of AMSA really for giving us a support structure to present an event like this on a national scale. That is, there are a lot of people to thank, and there is a very nice Telugu saying, Endaro Mahanubhavalu, Andriku Vandanamalu. That is my word. There are many great people who are supported for this one thing to happen, and it is my great pleasure to bow down to all of them. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So are we actually supposed to declare results? You just need to compile them.
Yeah, it would be great if you could send your list to Sneh ma'am, and we can collate the results into one list.
It would be better if our judges themselves know declare the winners. That would be better. Like
so, that way, I think I think you've sent me the results by ma'am. Also, I'll just add them to. That is you want. You can just carry on for the next couple of minutes. I'll just do the technical clerical work till then. Okay.
Okay, so can we also take a picture? Everyone's requesting, please switch on your cameras so take a picture. Yes, thank you so much. And sir, when would the results exactly be declared?
I think I'm ready with the list. Sneh, the photo that you've sent me, does that have marks by ma'am as well, or do you have them with
No,
you?
no, no.
I
That is the time. So that is
so
the
what,
time that the
yeah.
participants have taken.
So I've actually scored the 3 criteria out of 10 each. So I think I can if you have ma'am scores as well, you can just combine them.
Okay, so can we close this session and we can
Okay.
announce the winner on the WhatsApp group that we have? Would that be
Okay.
fine?
As
See, I've sent it. I've sent it, and you can just calculate them. And I think I would like to see the smiles on students' face when they are announced the winners. I think, can you do that
Okay,
for me?
yeah,
agreed,
exactly.
Yeah.
agreed,
So,
agreed.
no problem.
So,
Yeah, just
ma'am,
go to the
have you calculated like out of 10 marks each for the 3 parameters as well?
yes, 10,
So I think that
10, yes,
content, expression, and questions.
yes.
Amazing. So I think then Sneh, you can just add the 2 scores and we can have the final thing then. So that it's definitely better to see the smiles on the faces.
Yeah.
Agreed. So Sneh, I've sent you the scores. You can just add them both. Uh, yes. I see is, ma'am, our results are almost the same. So I think we have the same people
Oh,
written in there.
really? Okay.
So, okay, I'll just check if, okay, I'll just do the addition till then. Just a couple of seconds. Okay, that is 29. Okay. So this is done. And, all right. Sneh, I'm just going to send you the total marks of the first 4 people after the additions, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
Sir, I've just sent you the list, like
Yeah.
the first 3 people after adding both your and ma'am's score.
Yes. I've come to the same conclusion. And it's, yeah, exactly that. It's a 0.5 mark difference between the third position. But I think that's totally fine. So, who are we, Sneh? Who is going to declare the results?
It would be much more fun if you declare the results yourself.
Okay. Okay. Oh, can everyone just turn on the video? I feel very alone right now. because ma'am definitely wants to look at your faces, so I want you to definitely put it there. Okay. So, ma'am, with your permission, can I go ahead?
Please. Yes.
So we had almost everyone was very close, as I can see by the scores. It was just a gap of about 5 to 7 marks in which the first and the last person was there. But I think towards the end of it, it became very, very close for both ma'am and I. And with great pleasure, I would just want to tell you first that, ma'am, it's obviously they're winning this as individuals. But besides that, at AMSA, we have divided India into 4 houses based on which state do you belong to. So it's north, east, south, west. And you also get houses, you get points, national points for the house that you win the points for. So the first, second, and third positions shall also get National House points. And towards the end of the year, the total different events that we have at AMSA, we deliver one National House Cup trophy to the house that wins. So that said, I think let's move on to the results. With a score of 49.5 marks on the third position and 50 marks on the second position out of a total of 60, which is huge. We have Sahil with the bronze medal, who gets the third position. So congratulations, Sahil. You were very good and very
Thank you,
close.
sir.
I think we all, let me just put a round of applause.
Nice smile, Sahil.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Very well done, Sahil.
Yeah.
Okay. The second position goes to uh, uh, uh,
I'm feeling actually surprised because there was a mess up, and I had actually, if those who are on the group would know, uh, the topics were sent at 8:30 p.m. yesterday, and yesterday my mom actually had my mobile, so it was like on blue ticks, and I didn't get the notification. So I actually got I actually got to know what my topic was today.
Well, I would like to know
Like there was
how
some
are you
okay.
feeling now? How are you feeling now? That's it. What happened in the past is not important.
Great. Like if I would feel any better, I would be illegal.
Good one. Good one.
I think nothing succeeds like success. There are days when we deserve more, we get less. There are days when we deserve
Yep.
less, we get it. So everything is fair, but we've tried our best to mark it in the most biasless way, and I think that is clear by. I'm very glad that both ma'am and I had the same people in the top three. The positions were above and below, but I think I'm glad. So congratulations, Sahil. Archis, do you want to say a few
Thanks.
Like it feels amazing, like really. Like I am a little bit anxious in these kinds of scenarios. So yeah, I didn't expect this to happen. It feels wonderful, really.
You will be a good doctor. You're a very and you read, so I think you'll do good.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
All the best. So I think moving on to the first contender, first position, everyone was definitely amazing. So it's not fair for us to not take your names because you were as good. Asmita, Mansi, Dhruv, Amrit, Ashutosh, Rachna, Tejaswini, Falak, Jansi. I think I'm taking everyone's names, right? Okay, so Jansi is probably an organizer.
Yes.
Yeah, got that. Sorry. And everyone's done an amazing job. But I think everyone has an idea, someone who nailed it on the last question to just take it towards his victory is definitely because of his spontaneity and a very clear at the end, who I think has given us an extra bit of knowledge that we didn't have ourselves, is someone who is not showing his face as of now. Can we please have a look at your face, Ashutosh? Congratulations, Ashutosh, and very, very well deserved, I must say. And over to you. I think you deserve to take the mic.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, sorry, the video turned off. Yeah, so I would like to talk about this quiz. Like, this has been one of the first quizzes which has been like this. Like, I've gone to quizzes where there's one round of written round, and the next round is on the stage where there are 6 teams competing for questions with a set period of time. But then when I saw integrated medical quiz, I thought they were talking just about integration of subjects. But this is taking quizzing to a whole new level. It's integration of the various facets which are associated with becoming a doctor, I think. The first round tests your skills in the options you choose, and the second round also had images and where you had to type the answers out in a specified amount of time. It was very stimulating intellectually, and also it also brought out many skills into the I really loved the quiz. It was a very enjoyable experience.
No, good. See, nobody else should think that Ashutosh was in final year and others were in third year, so that's why they couldn't get the marks. It's not like that. I'm being so senior. I have played very fair to everyone. I've given chance to everyone to speak, given a chance, given a chance to attempt again. So, it's all fair. There's nobody is less or more. I'm particularly very taken aback because Manasi was doing very well. I really liked her story and everything. So, and one of the girls should be in top 3. So that was my point. But then at the end of the day, it all depends upon your intellect and the way you present and the way your knowledge is. So, but Manasi, you have a good potential. So I want you to go ahead. And also Ashwini, she did also
Thank you, ma'am.
well. So it's not about winning, it's about improving in life, going from one step to the next step, not from one step to the same step all your life. It has to move up. So you're not the losers, you are just being exposed to a new aspect which will help you to improve. So take up this experience and move on to the next level. So I wanted one of the girls to come forward, but thank you so much again. I keep talking too much.
So every word you say was like, it feels like a pearl to all of us, I'm sure. And to just add on to what you said, ma'am, I think definitely everyone who's here is a winner in its own respect. One personal experience since I had last time myself was this, that exactly how I told him, sometimes we deserve more, we get less. Sometimes we deserve less, we get more. A huge part of this thing is that subconsciously, unconsciously, depending upon which topic you might be really good at, you might not get that topic. Someone else might get some topic who can catch it really well or has more content to say. So that does definitely play a role subconsciously, but beyond that, it's not the ultimate decider. Because I think how Ashutosh took it, it was not an easy topic at all to talk. And
Yes.
he definitely took it in a way that we had no other option but to declare what we declared. So things happen in all respects and directions. You all are definitely winners, because last time I was a part of a similar quiz, and the next person who got the topic was the one that I really wanted. So that happens, and I qualified with nothing at all. But it's the experience that counts, because you've come through 6 stages. What matters is you've experienced everything, right? So you're winners for all of us. And ma'am, there's this small little thing that I wanted to share, which I've shared with Sneh a couple of times. And as much as I am thankful to Sneh for having me here along with you, I mean, that is definitely a pleasure. And it's much more joy to me knowing that we are from the same city. And
absolutely.
And one thing that I was going to mention was that initially when the brochure of this contest was released, it was so intriguing, because I'm one of those person who's very much into quizzing. So I end up doing quizzes rather than participating myself. So this one quiz, I was so intrigued, and I registered on the spot that I want to be a part of this. This is so amazing. And the very next second, I get a message from Sneh, no, you cannot be a part of the quiz because we were just going to ask you to judge. And that was such a happy and a sour moment. But I think that was a very big gamble, because I would not have made it to the final with you guys, definitely. So I'm happy I'm somehow a part of the finals along with you. So congratulations to everyone. As my official responsibility as the VOCI for AMSA India, I thank all the organizers. Sneh, you have been doing an amazing job with all your heart into it. All the organizers, Sahi, I would say Sahi, if that's okay, right?
That's right.
And everyone has been doing such an amazing job. This was definitely, we participate, we just see a couple of minutes, we see 3 hours, 2 hours. And the amount of mind that goes into each question, correcting everything, participating, giving the trial runs, making sure everyone's on the WhatsApp group, because there are floods of queries. We registered, we didn't get to participate in everything. It is just the drop or the peak of the iceberg that we see. So it's hosting sometimes or organizing is a relatively thankless job sometimes. So I think both ma'am and I can do are doing our best to make you feel that you've been amazingly exceptional. Thank you.
I would like to say something here, sir.
Yes,
Throughout this organizing, I am so grateful that I have my team. This team has been working with me since last 15 days, and each one of them, we have had ups, downs, fights, and everything. But I was quite apprehensive of how this last thing would come out. But it was the team itself who had that faith that no, we'll do it no matter what. I was still very scared, it's completely out of the box, but still I went ahead with it because they were all fine with it. So it's completely these people, Sahishnu, Arfan, Jhansi, and Bhagya, and obviously my co-CH, they have all been so helpful. And although one name goes down in the organizing sector of that spreadsheet of AMSA, but it was like a very difficult thing, and these guys helped me pull it together and then move ahead. And especially this this last round has been so special for me because Amrit ma'am is there. Ma'am, thank you so much for being here. You're the sweetest person in college as well. Like anytime you walk up to her cabin, she has that smiling face and she'll be sitting and listening to you. You just speak and she'll be there for you. Thank you so much, ma'am. And this is not the first event ma'am has judged for AMSA. So we always walk up to her, ma'am, please judge this, please judge that. And Avi sir, thank you so much. It has been a very wonderful process, to bring you in. We really thought that you would end up participating after I send that message. But it's a promise. I will specially make an event for you and you shall participate in that. We'll keep you as the chief participant there instead of chief guest.
Then I will judge Avi because we are from the same city.
Yes.
But definitely.
And same college as well.
Of course.
Same college, right?
Yes. I mean, Avi, the college has changed so much. I mean, the buildings there's so many buildings now. I don't understand. There's no empty space left there. I just came last year and the hostels have changed and the auditorium, the library, everything has changed. It was very, very open and it was a lot of fun. I don't know how is it now, but
this year, just I think a month back, we just celebrated the 100-year jubilee for Government Medical College, because since it's passed from Lahore Medical College, so we celebrated it as an event called the Centigrade because it was 100 years, and so I think you have to visit us very soon, and we need to. I need to show you around, and it definitely deserves to have its alumni back, who's been doing so much. It's such an amazing place in the country.
Yeah, definitely. The buildings are so historic. I mean, it was from the British timings. The buildings are there. So I really love my college, definitely. Oh, I'm so happy I met you.
It's been a pleasure, ma'am. Exactly mutual. And
Nay, I just wanted to tell you that the topics which you had chosen to speak are actually controversial, and it was nice for the students to talk on them. It was really good. I wanted to tell that.
Ma'am, this has all been the co-organizers who got up the topic. They're all all the credit goes to them. They were the ones to bring it together. They were the ones to decide it. And then we sent out the list to Avi sir to finalize which one he wants. Yeah, it was a complete.
It was all your efforts. We're just glad to be here, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, dear. Then I'll go for dinner now. Bye. See you.
Okay. Good night, ma'am.
Take care.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Same here. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, I have a couple of words to actually tell. This is very unplanned, but I actually want to thank everybody. It has been such a productive night today. I did not actually expect this at all. I had a learning experience tonight. I can say this was the most productive night in all these months, and I'm really very overwhelmed right now. I actually don't know how to express it right now. I'm so out of words. Thank you so much from the participants, organizers, and even the judges. You've taught us so much today. Like I have learned so many new things, and I can't thank you all enough.
You can always contact me for anything. You can always. I'm always there for my students.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. All the best. Take care. And I'm there for any help in the future also. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jansi, for all the enthusiasm that you're feeling. I think that's the best reward that any of the organizers and I, just as a part of AMSA, can feel. I think it's beautiful for me to be a part of the college level events and meet the college heads. And this being a national level event done so beautifully, I think it's all praise, all appreciation to you guys. Thank you for having me as a part. And one person that I definitely cannot miss out, and I would want to see that from all your side, is definitely Shravya. She's one of the most amazing people that I think we have, and all of South and me as the
We have her here, sir. We have her here.
yeah. I'm seeing her. That is why that is why I want her to join if she's here, if she's available. But
She said she's very messy right now.
it's okay, but I just want her to know from all our hearts, Hannah, because I think I can say this from Sneha's side as well, and from everyone's side, that thank you for being you, Shravya, and being the amazing connecting link, and all the organizers. And Sahi, you have done an amazing job at hosting, and you look like a definite superstar of tomorrow to me. So I think we all need to watch out for that. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hey, you can send me the photos whenever. I think I would love to post them and get
Sure.
AMSA India
Yes,
posted them.
yes.
So I'll take a leave. Thank you so much, everyone. Great job.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, all the participants. You've been a true sport, and you're the real reason why this event was a successful one. Thank you so much. We'll call it off now. Let's go and have some dinner. And the winners can contact me. The subscription information further, I'll be giving you out in a day of 1 or 2 time span. Please do contact me for the same. Thank you so much, everyone. I shall close the meeting now. Thank you.